Unajua umebaki na wiki moja hapa peke yake. And then you're driving the car like this.
Just answer the questions correctly so that we can have a quick and easy process. I know it's just like the pressure is getting way far.
So you drive a car without putting down the handbrake?
Hi, welcome to another video. My name is Castellin. I'm coming to you today with a different kind of video. I'm coming at you today with a story time. So one of the reasons why one of my main agendas for coming to Kenya this year was to get my driver's license. I know, at my big age, I don't know. I never had the need to have a driver's license before until now. So I was like, since it's very expensive to get a driver's license in the United Arab Emirates, it costs about 8,000 dirhams, which is around 250,000 Kenyan shillings.
Oh my God! Wow!
And if you don't have any prior knowledge about how to drive, or if you've never been licensed before, whichever country you're coming from. So since I was going to be in Kenya, I thought, why don't I just get my license finally, and then when I go back to Dubai, like either if I want to get a license in Dubai, the cost will be like half the cost of getting it if you don't have any prior driver experience, or I can also get an international driving permit from Kenya, which will allow me to drive in any other country where the IDP is accepted. So I was like, okay. I came home, I was like visiting family, friends, blah blah blah. Then I was like, okay, with the time I have, let me just go to a driving school, find out what is the programs available and how long it will take. Now in my head I was thinking things are still the same the way they used to be kitambo, because like the age for getting driver's license, straight out of high school, people are going to get their driver's license. They would go for 1 week, then the next thing you know, wameenda kwa polisi and they've done their stuff, and then they get their licenses. I never did that. I was never interested. So I thought like the program would be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe, and then you go and do the exam and that's it, you get your license.
What are you saying? What are you saying? What is he saying?
Okay, I went to, so I was like, okay, what's the best driving school in Kenya? AA. That is Automobile Association of Kenya. I was like, okay, I went there. So in my head, I'm thinking 2-3 weeks, classes EV in the morning, and I'll be done. Tell me why. I walk into this driving school. I went to the reception. The guy is like, okay, so the program takes 6 weeks. And I'm like, 6 weeks? A month and a half? He was like, yeah, it takes 6 weeks. And then once you're 6 weeks, you're done with your classes, you go and book for your exam with the NTSA. I'm like, I don't have 6 weeks. I thought this was a 3-week thing. And he was like, 3 weeks? Nah, that is not possible. It's not possible. I was like, wow, okay, now what do I do? But then I was like, I just really insisted with them because I really wanted to get it done. And everybody was just always pestering me like, why don't you have a driving license? Why don't you drive? Why? I have no explanation why I didn't have it. So I told him, okay, fine, I'll do it. Then he goes like, okay, we can't even talk much right now. There's a class going on. So just make the payment, go into class, and then once you're done with class, we'll come and complete everything. So I can get things started as soon as possible, considering that I don't have that much time to be going for the classes. So I went in. The instructor was like, you know, there are so many driving schools you could have gone to. Like when you're coming here, just before you reach here, how many driving schools did you see along the way? Then we're like, many. Then he was like, yeah, there's a reason why you guys came to AA. Then he's like, by the time we leave out of here, then he goes and gives us the course outline. You need to learn how to do this and this and this. And AA, we don't do anything with money. We don't deal with money. Everything you pay online. Did you see that when you paid your school fees, you paid it on either with a card or through M-Pesa? We don't deal with cash. So don't let anyone ever ask you for cash. Don't give any cash to anyone. You pay what is indicated on the website and that's it. And I was like, that is an interesting bit of information. But I was like, okay, fine. If you guys have the confidence that you'll teach me how to drive to the point where I don't need to pay any money to get my license, then yes, okay, I'm cool with it. So when I went to finish my registration, I was like, okay, so please put me down for the automatic car, please, because we are on soft life. Gary is squeezing automatic. And then he was like, what do you mean automatic? I mean, you can do both because it's the same cost for the school fees. You can do the manual car, and then after that you'll be licensed to drive both manual and automatic. I was a bit iffy about it. I called my sister. I was like, okay, so do I do manual or automatic? Then my sister was like, what do you mean automatic? Everybody who has a driving license practices with a manual car. I mean, it's easy. We all did it. So why don't you do manual? Like, why would you want just to be limited to an automatic car? I get box. Okay, so I went. I was like, okay, registered me for the for the manual car. I went on a Wednesday, so he was like, until end of this week, you'll do your theory classes. Then once the next week starts, we'll get you an instructor. Then you'll just talk to your instructor and try to find out how we can like cram as many lessons as possible in the time that was available. And I was like, okay, cool. So I rock up on Monday. And then they were like, the instructor who was given had been sent on official duty somewhere, so they were not able to take me on that day. So we had to continue with the theory classes until I think about Wednesday. That's when the instructor was available. So Wednesday rolls up. They're like, okay, so all the people who are going with this instructor, it's a saloon car. So there is the instructor, then whoever is driving, and 3 people behind. So every lesson has to have at least maximum of 4 students. So he's like, okay, the 4 students for 9 o'clock, please come with me. Let's go to the car. Now me, when they said that it's 6 weeks, I don't know what I was expecting in my head. I thought like we'd go to the car and then like, okay, girls and boys, this is a car, so this is this, and this is the parts of the car, and blah, 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 and what. No, we go to the parking, everybody enters the car. Now, I'm the only new student in that class. The other guys, there was one guy who was already 5 weeks in. There was another guy who had done 4 weeks, and then me, and then a lady with 2 weeks in, and then me. This was my first practical lesson. Now, I have driven a car before, an automatic car, and it's just the same way like all of us, we have driven cars. We've ever driven, probably it's just your relative or something, and they were like, okay, chukua gari, peleka pale, just within very safe constraints, either kwa kawanja mahali or something. But I've never driven a manual car, and let alone, like now we're going on the road, okay, now serious business, I need to understand road signs, I need to signal, I need to check my mirrors, and that I had no idea how to do. I've been a passenger princess all my life. We get into the car, the instructor is like, okay, wa kwanza kuja. So the first guy enters. This dude has been there for 5 weeks. So you assume he's left with 1 week to graduate. The way the guy was handling the car, I put on my seatbelt. I was like, no. Wait, why you just... Okay, but then I realized the instructor has like pedals, so he can like step on the brakes if he needs to intervene or step on the clutch or whatever. But that guy was struggling. And I was like, okay, now what am I doing in this car? We went, the guy's been given instructions. If he's losing the direction, the instructor is just like touching the steering wheel, bring him back. Then he goes like,
unajua umebaki na wiki moja hapa peke yake, and then you're driving the car like this.
And the guy is just like, pole, and then and then they went and stopped somewhere. Now, the place where they stopped, it was at an interchange. What do you call them? The overpass, and then you join Mombasa Road. So they stopped, and then the instructor was like, yeah, you come. Me? Then I'm like, yeah, I'm new. He's like, yes, come. Sir, are you not afraid for your life? How are you? You don't even know me. Like, how are you expecting me to handle this guy on Mombasa Road right now? It's my first time. He was like, no, it's fine, just come. Mind you, while we're having this exchange, we're literally on the side of the road, on the road shoulder, like, where the white line is, and then we just stopped on that little bit of tarmac on the side, and then he's like, come and drive this car. Whew, I took a deep breath. I was like, anyway, I came here to learn, so let's go and see. So I went, I got in, then he's like, okay, put on your seatbelt. Even I didn't put on my seatbelt because I was like, are you people serious? Like, this is my first day. You want me to drive this car on Mombasa Road? How? So I put on my seatbelt, And then he's like, okay, so now look down. He's like, this is the clutch, this is the brake, and that's the accelerator. So in order to start the car, you have to first step on the clutch. So step on the clutch, I step on the clutch. Like, turn the key, turn the key. Then he's like, okay, now you can hear the engine is on. I'm like, yeah. Okay, nice to be in the correct gear. So put on your gear. So he was like, okay, these are the gears. Okay, that thing, I've seen it in Fast and Furious enough times to know, like, gear 1, haha. I was like, okay, this I can do. I put on gear 1. He's like, okay, release the clutch. Then I released it.
The car was like, excuse me, release what? Again.
Then he's like, no, release the clutch slowly. Okay, and feel for the loading point. Don't even know what a loading point is. Wow, okay. So I released the clutch, loading point, anyway, by God's grace, we went. I don't know if he did it from his side or I did it, but we moved. And that was the start of my practical driving lessons. Now, I remember the first day after I finished like driving on Mombasa Road, I went from Cabanas, I drove in the overpass and went to GM and then did the roundabout. Now it's closed, but that time it was open. I did the roundabout, and the whole time in my head I was just screaming, but I was just like, okay, I'm being instructed anyway. The car is already written, drive under caution, please, keep your distance and stuff like that. It wasn't so bad. Even after I was done, I was like, why was I even worried? Like, it's not so bad. Like, it's something that is doable. So anyway, after about a couple of classes, one of the guys who was already done with the 6 weeks was going to do his exam. So there was an open slot, and then a new lady came. This lady, what do we call her? Let's call her Cinnamon. So Cinnamon made me understand why you need to have those 6 weeks of training before you're allowed to the road, because hey,
right, that is why we are in this hall. That's why we.
Cinnamon was special. I remember whenever Cinnamon used to get into the driver's seat, all of us used to just look at each other like, are you guys ready for this? With a manual car, there's so many things to do. Both of your legs are engaged, both of your hands are engaged, and you have to think about this gear shifting situation over here. Cinnamon starts the car. Then the instructor is like, okay, now you have released the clutch, you're moving, so please step on the accelerator. I think the instructor should have been more clear with his instructions, because Cinnamon was just like, okay, accelerator. Floored it. All of us were just like, okay. The instructor was
Like, no, Cinnamon, no, not like that. You have to step on it slowly.
that time, guys are hooting at us. The funny thing about Cinnamon was like, whenever it's time to shift gears, because we start in the first gear. Now, the first gear, you put it while you're stationary. So it's quite easy, because you can literally look at it and go like, okay, go to the left, far left, and then go up. So that's easy, right? Now, when we are moving, the car is already moving, and Cinnamon needs to change gears. Cinnamon wants to look down at the gears. So we're on the highway, then the instructor is like, okay, Cinnamon, now we've moved a bit, so we need to change it to gear 2. Cinnamon turns to look down at the gears, and while she's turning, her hand also turns, and the car just goes to the left.
Allah, Allah, Allah.
The instructor is like, oh my God, they like do it with one hand. Like, oh my God, Cinnamon, don't look at the gears. You need to just know how to turn them without looking down. Okay, Cinnamon, please press on the brakes. The brakes. And she's holding the steering wheel, and she's just like looking down at the brakes, looking for them, looking for the accelerator. Being in that class with Cinnamon was giving me so much motivation to learn faster so I can finish before I die. Because I don't care if the car is, how the A cars, they're green and yellow, like everyone would know this is someone under instruction, but still I was afraid for my life every single time.
That's what we are doing, my friend.
So after about 3 weeks, I was feeling like confident enough, and I felt like, okay, Niwejo could drive, like I can do this, let's go to NTSA. So I went on YouTube. I was like, let me see what this NTSA is all about. I went on YouTube to watch like other story times, such as this, about people's experience in NTSA and all that. Hey, the things I saw, everyone was like, oh my God, those people are strict. You can fail, you know, because even at the driving school, they were telling us, you know, some people fail and then you have to come back to the school, pay more school fees, do more classes, and then re-register for the exam because you pay for the exam. And then if you fail, maybe you might need to do it again. So I was already in that mentality where I can't fail this NTSA exam. Hey, the story times, they were saying that, you know, when you go there, there's like hundreds and hundreds of people. Like you can find 300 people on a good day, and you can stay there the whole day. Like you have to arrive early because there are long queues and stuff like that. My day comes to go to NTSA. Like, okay, I need to be prepared because tomorrow, you know, vitu za serikali, hey, you might spend there the whole day queuing, waiting for this exam. And then everyone is like, the exam is really short, but just one mistake, one small mistake, and they'll just be like, okay, get out, you're done. Go back to school and come back another time. That story of
Go back to school and come back another time.
first of all, I don't have time. I can't come back. And second of all, I also have that pride in myself where I'm like, I can't just fail. Day comes where we wake up very early. I was at NTSA, the place is Likoni Road. I'll just put a short clip here so you can see what the place looks like. So we got there at around 7:30, and then we proceeded to register ourselves. So they give you a form where you're supposed to fill like basic details like your age, your gender, and your mobile number. And then once you're done with that, they go like, okay, kila mtu na ID kwa mkono. When you go to submit that form, you need to show your ID for verification so that they can accept your form and then put you on the list for the exam. This process of giving us this document so that we can submit our names was around 8:30. So already 1 hour is gone. We gave them the documents and then they went inside now to compile the list of names. So by the time they're coming back out to now call the first batch of people to do the theory lessons, it's already 9:30. Just time was just moving. And then they were calling batches of 50. So they went and called the first batch. The first lady to be called, oh my God, everyone was just looking at her like, you're the first one. I would hate to be number one, like numero uno. Too much pressure. One thing also I remember is before they started calling the first batch of 50, there's a guy who came from NTSA to give us a briefing of now what was going to happen. And then the guy was like, you guys relax, but don't relax too much. Don't be too overconfident and don't doubt yourself too much. Just answer the questions correctly so that we can have a quick and easy process. And I was just like, the pressure is getting worse. And then the guy is like, and by the way, here, again, we don't accept money. So if you gave anyone your money and they told you that they're going to help you, please put your hand up now so I can help you sort that out. Of course, no one put their hands up. This is Kenya at the end of the day. So the first batch of 50 came out. Now this is where things were just getting more and more serious. So they were called a batch of 50. Now, there is this side, the field side, where the cars are. So once you pass the theory, you're supposed to go to the car side and wait for your name to be called so that you can do your practical exam. If you don't pass the theory, there's another exit towards the gate. And while we're sitting there, now waiting for our names to be called, we can just see out of this batch of 50, some are going towards the cars and some are going back home. I was like, no, I can't fail. Like, how? How will I fail? So, first batch of 50 went. Second batch of 50, still my name hasn't been called. Now this is going to around 10:30, 11ish. Third batch of 50 finally was called. So already 100 people that have gone through. Numbers are dwindling. People are not there the way they were in the morning. Some people have disappeared. People have gone back to school. So they called the third batch of 50 and were there. Then they take you to the theory area. So they could ask you anything. They could ask you anything about the highway codes. They could ask you about the traffic signs. They could ask you to do something on the, the model town board where you're supposed to drive the car and stuff. They could ask you anything. So I'd prepared myself, but again, you can never be too prepared because they really ask you the questions so fast, and you fumble once. You can ask them for another chance, but who knows if they will accept or not, So when we went in, out of the other batch of 50, that had just left, there was one lady who was still not done. She was still on the board trying to drive her car. I think she had failed first and then they had given her a second chance. So she was really nervous. Like, now this is the second chance. If she fails, she's going to be told go back to school or something. And you know, it's such a huge inconvenience. Like, who wants to go back to driving school, or who wants to come and pay for this test again? Because it costs money at the end of the day. That lady was just like, now she was just standing there looking at the car, and then she was like this. And then I was looking at her and I was like, this is going to be me. This is going to be my fate. Oh my God, not my portion in Jesus' name. So she was like, and then she drove the car, and then the guy was like, okay, fine, you've done it. She was crying, by the way, when she was driving that car, doing all of this. There was tears in her eyes. When she was done, she came out and she's like,
oh my God, I've passed. Thank you, God, I've passed.
We were just making a queue outside of the office, and then now they call you in batches of 5. So you go inside, there's like 4 different examiners, and they were just looking so, you know, government officials, how they look. I don't want to say that it's not in a bad way, like they're so serious, or so serious with the job. So that adds to the nervousness as well. So they called people to go inside. Now from this batch, because they were leaving, I don't know who managed to went through, who went home, I don't know. They called 555. Finally, they called me. They were like, okay, Castellan, who's Castellan? And then I was like, it's me. Okay, come, Castellan. And then the guy was like, oh,
Castellan, huh? This is you, okay? Karibu, karibu, karibu.
I was just like, okay. I had like, you never know which kind of examiner you'll find. Maybe it will be a nice person. Maybe it will be like a really strict or mean person, like who would give you a second chance if you fail or anything like that. So I was just like gauging, because I don't know, like, don't be nice to me and then tukifika kwa mbele things become complicated. If you're going to be mean from now. So I went, then the guy was like, okay, Castellan, how's your day? How's your morning? How are you feeling? Everything is okay? Then I was like, yeah, everything is okay. Then he's just like, yeah. Just after he asked me, everything's okay? So I'm like, everything is fine.
Okay, drive this car.
I was like, okay. I looked at the board, thank goodness. It was to take the car to the ample parking, which is very easy because none of the routes were blocked. So it's just take the shortest route, go to the ample parking, that's it. So I drove the car, I went and parked it. Of course, they had tried to make the question a bit more difficult by parking some cars in the ample parking. And then he was like, very good, come. Then I went. I turned, you know, he's like, okay, the table is here. So I just drive it, parked it. Then when I turned, he was like, very good, come. Then pen on the board, traffic signs. He's like, what is this? Then I answer, what is this? Then I answer, roundabout ahead. This and this and this and this. I answered, I think about 10 traffic signs in less than 30 seconds. Really, really fast. So I'm answering. Then he's not even looking at me in the eye. He's just looking at the traffic signs and looking at the paper. Then he's just moving his hand. And then after I was done answering, he just wrote something on my paper. Then he was like, okay, Castellan, you can proceed for your practical. I was like, whoo, let's go outside. Came with a list of people who had passed now. By this time, you can say out of the people who were there in the morning, we had gone down to about 60%, like 40% had been told they can't do the practicals because they didn't answer the theory questions properly. So one of the guys from our driving school goes to the instructor, he goes like, okay, wameniambia niende nyumbani sasa nifanye nini? And then the instructor was like, yeah, sasa tufanye nini? Like,
mimi sasa nitakusaidiaje? So umeona pale kwa mlango they have written instructors are not allowed beyond this point. So what do you want me to do exactly?
I hate this heart with my heart.
it was so sad. And then that guy was like, Tessa, what do I do? The instructor was like, there's nothing I can do. Imagine that guy had to leave. He just went home, he had failed, he has to come and pay for the exam again. So they called the practical, they called our names in a batch, and then they told us to stand in one area. Then they were like, okay, all the guys who are doing manual car, this side, all the guys who are doing automatic car, this side. Of course, me, Madam Manual, we stood on one side. Then they brought a car and they put it there. This car is not from our driving school. I've never seen this car before in my life. So I was like, there's no way I'm going fast. That guy has a bunch of papers. So he just gave out 10 papers. He was like, out of this 10, I just need two people to come in the car. So he called the first guy. We are all watching. This man enters the car, sits down, turns the key, engages the gear and starts driving off. What did he forget? He didn't put on the seatbelt. He drove for about like the car just started, and then he was told stop, get out, just like that, and he got out, and that was a fail. Next person. The car is not what we're using in our driving school. Now, these manual cars, all of them have different loading points. So you never know if you lift your foot too fast or if you lift your foot too slow. Slowest is the best way, because now you find the loading point easier. But if you lift your foot too fast, maybe the car will jump and it will go off. This lady jumped the car 3 times. The guy was really being kind to her, because he was like, okay, start again. In the end, he was like, okay, get out. Go and call another one. Me and another lady from the same driving school where I went, we went together. So she got in first and I got in the back. Now this lady, I've been talking to her all day. She's like,
Yeah, I'm ready. Theory was easy, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to the practical. You know, if you pass the theory, you cannot fail the practical. We have practiced already with the car.
she's talking a big game. Tell me why she entered the car, she doesn't tie her seatbelt. And the guy is like, okay, ma'am, what do you need to do first? Then she was like, oh, okay, seatbelt. Then she puts on her seatbelt. The handbrake is up, right? This lady tries to engage the gear and start the car without putting the handbrake down. I'm like, are you the same person I was talking to a few seconds ago with so much confidence? She tried to start the car before engaging the correct gear. So it was on like neutral and she's trying to start the car. Then she was told to put it in gear. So this is chance number 3. She put it in gear, she didn't put the handbrake down. Chance number 4. Now when it came to the handbrake, when she went, then the guy was like,
So you drive a car without putting down the handbrake?
Watu husahau. Ndio unaona saa zingine nalaumiwa bure.
and then when she went to grab the handbrake, the guy was like, no, leave it, get out. And then she just took her form with the red pen and wrote their handbrake, and then put the form in the back and told her to get out. That's automatically a fail. After seeing what all these people had done, the most important things I had already recorded in my mind. First, ma'am, put on your seatbelt. Second, don't forget to put on the handbrake. Third, you don't know where the loading point is, so lift your foot off the clutch very slowly just to avoid the car jumping. So I did all that. I lifted my foot off the clutch very slowly. The car started moving forward. Then he's like, okay, turn left. I indicated, I turned left. Then he's like, okay, car's telling me it's fine. Then he's like, okay.
Nipeleke pale, nirudishe pale penye wamesimama nichukue wengine.
Then I was like, okay, that sounds good. That means, like, he didn't tell me get out. He was like, okay, now because we had driven like a full circle. So he was like, just take me back to where we started so I can pick the next batch. So I drove back. I slowed down. Then when I was slowing down, like I said, the car is new, so the brakes were very sensitive. So I was slowing down slowly. Then on the last where he's like, Smama apa. I think just when he said Smama apa, like my foot just went down on the brake and we just went, both of us like this, a little bit. Then he's like,
Okay, car's telling.
then I was like, it's fine, tumefika. Then he's like, sawa, asante, nikatoka. I was like, to me, that feels like it went well. So I got out of the car. I went to the instructor from our driving school. I was like, so I've already finished my practical. Can I go? Then he's like, yeah, there's nothing else you need to do. This was 1 o'clock. By God's miracle, I was done by 1 p.m. and I left. Now, they said you're supposed to go to the driving school the next day so that they can confirm your results, and then you can pay for the interim license so that they can do the booking online for the smart deal and all that stuff. So for me, kiherehere, I was just looking at my, NTSA application the whole evening, just waiting to see if they will upload the results, if I passed and everything. And then when I logged in about 7 p.m., I logged in, I checked, and then it was like, okay, your driving license expiring in 2025. I was like, yes, thank God I don't have to do that again. But it was so stressful. Anyway, so I went to the school the next day, applied for the smart deal, and now I am a fully licensed Kenyan driver. Whew. It was stressful though. That's it for the story time. Thank you so much for watching this video and listening, and if there's any other topics that you'd like me to discuss, you can drop a comment down below. You can watch my other videos here, and I'll see you on the next one.